And then the main event is MJF and Kenny Omega, which gets started at 11:40 p.m. on the East Coast. Omega comes out, superstar entrance for Kenny Omega, and then MJF gets the big elaborate entrance. He elevates. He rented out the Cody Vader here as he elevated here on the stage in his devil outfit with a crown, spikes on his robe. This looked quite.
It looked
quite
ridiculous, but for a pro wrestling one-off entrance, yes, you want ridiculous.
Looked completely
sometimes.
normal in a wrestling setting. So the match begins early on. We get the tease of a one-winged angel from Kenny, his first of like a dozen of these attempts, and it's countered with a victory roll. MJF tries for the heat seeker, and then he has to go reset in the crowd and stalls. And we had a table get involved here as the referee is warning Kenny Omega, you've got to win it in the ring. It's like, yeah, what are you going to do about it? You're going to disqualify me after 5 minutes? So we just continued to use this table, and he was fine. Omega teases the Avalanche one-winged angel, which is, of course, the move you always tease because you're never going to hit it, right? It's like the German off the ring apron. You're never going to actually do it, right?
Yeah. Although people, I feel like the German off the apron is not as sort of like, I don't know, unusual anymore.
So it's avoided, and the two of them trade poison ranas. They really up the tempo here in like the middle of this point where this is going back and forth. Max hits a Panama Sunrise, and Max even tries the you can't escape, slipping, and then misses Kenny. Then Kenny sends Max to the floor, and he does the signal for the cross slash and hits a golden triangle as his tribute to Kota Ibushi here. But MJF goes after the weakened stomach of Kenny Omega, and he's asking, does your stomach hurt? And Danielson criticizes Kenny Omega not going for enough quality covers in the match. A good, strong cover makes your opponent exert more energy. Kenny's not doing that. So I thought Danielson was great on this show with the neck stuff with Ospreay and in this match too as well. Omega cannot lift Max for another one-winged angel because the midsection is compromised. But then MJF counters and hits a crossroads, and this crowd just boos this crossroads instantly, and he turns into a package pile driver. Omega survives. And then Omega just goes full-on kickboxer mode here with lighting up MJF with these strikes, and he's just like blasting this guy and kicking him in the corner. Great series of strikes, which he kind of introduced a bit when he had first come back, like he was doing this in the Gabe Kidd match, but then kind of got away from it. But I like that he used this here. I thought it was a good sequence that he had. Multiple V triggers, and then Omega's knee goes to connect with Max, but Max pulls Bryce in between and takes out Bryce. And with that, Max is able to, I had already gotten ahead of myself, but we did get the spot where they are on the turnbuckle and Kenny hits the Avalanche one-winged angel, but Max rolls to the floor to avoid this. Now, in watching this, Kenny took great care of this guy and landed it about as safely as you could possibly do, but it was still like a breathtaking move to see actually executed.
Has he actually not hit one of these in the past?
The Avalanche one?
Yeah. Has he never actually done one?
I don't think he's hit it. Not that I recall. He's teased it many, many times. But anyway, Max survives that. And with Bryce out, Max goes into Bryce's pocket and removes the ring that he had handed over at the beginning of the match. And Kenny, meanwhile, hits another one-winged angel, but again, no referee. So Paul Turner runs out, and Max kicks out of the delayed cover after the one-winged angel that they make a big deal out of because no one in AEW has survived the one-winged angel. And Max has the ring, and he punches him in the body with the ring. The diverticular ring here, right to the guts of Kenny Omega. And he hits a tombstone off the apron through a table, heat seeker, and MJF wins in about 37 minutes. And he walks up the stage, sits on his throne, puts on his devil crown, and he just descends down the stage, proclaiming himself the devil as MJF retains in another pretty stellar main event. Your thoughts, Way?
I mean, incredibly strong match, and The length is about, I think, what you kind of like would expect from a Kenny Omega MJF championship match. At the same time, maybe it's because the shows are long, but I don't think it dragged, but I also don't think it would have lost anything from a bit of editing. Not to maybe start, like my thoughts with a negative, because I thought the action was spectacular. I thought Kenny, like, delivered an incredible performance, and I don't even really know sort of like what the true state of him is these days, but he's still wrestling at this level despite all of that, which suggests to me that either he's working incredibly hard to come back to deliver these sort of performances, or maybe he is, fully healed and recovered and, better than he's ever been. I also felt like you could really buy into a Kenny win here more than even like before the show. And that to me is especially because Jericho lost, and also because
after Copeland and Cage lost, I thought there was like at least a decent shot of doing the title change here. Even though that was not my thought going in, that this was going to be Max retaining, but that was kind of contingent. I thought Copeland and Cage winning the tag titles here would have been like the big Canadian win on the show, and they gave you Kyle O'Reilly.
I will say I don't really understand why, after all they did on Wednesday to undo the diverticulitis story and the threat of Kenny Omega's like stomach exploding. Not to say like that was probably too far. But then to have the doctor basically say, he's fine. He's 100% fine. We cleared him. Like, he's totally cool. But then to go on to make diverticulitis in the stomach the focal point of this match, I don't really understand that. Also, in that same segment, you had Kenny physically take the diamond ring away from MJF, only to foolishly give it back to him by the end of the segment. And now in this match, it becomes the reason why he lost. So all of that, I don't know, is a little bit
the diamond ring
perplexing.
was a very weird spot. Given Wednesday, they like the symbolism of Wednesday's closing segment, which was an excellent segment, seemed to be that you have stripped this guy of his go-to secret weapon. And
even if he did give it back, the insinuation is that Kenny knows he can use it, and maybe it's to say, I could take this away from you at any time, or maybe it's to say I know you can use this. Will you not use it? Was it a challenge? I mean, I'm not sure.
It almost felt like there were some like competing ideas of like, what is the story that we are telling here? The first one being, okay, this is MJF. When he beat him on Collision in 2023, he was beating a diminished Kenny Omega. And now this is Kenny at his best. And this is ultimately like, this is our champion that is like, he is the number one guy that is going to beat a Kenny Omega even at 100%. But I feel there was like this hesitancy because he's still our top villain, and we just can't position him as like beating this guy clean. And it got really muddied in this whole diverticulitis story and the ring, because it almost felt as though they wanted to make this like, this is Max getting his win over Kenny without the excuse of him being like compromised as he was years ago. But it felt like they backtracked on that. So you can read it either way.
What did you think about the match itself?
I really enjoyed the match. It wasn't my match of the show. I would say it was a step below the Hangman match from a month ago. I just thought there was so much more in terms of that. For whatever you want to say, people buy that stipulation because they saw it used
Not
once.
to mention just that being a death match where, I mean, they had, needles and various objects to play with as well.
That too, but like I wasn't clamoring for that in this match either. It was still, I thought, a really solid match, but for me personally, I had Moxley and Ospreay as my match of the show, and I thought the Bucks tag match was number 2. This would probably come in at number 3.
I might go Bucks and Okada and Takeshita number 1.
I was very close between those two for like, I loved that tag match. I thought it was just excellent. So that being number 1 for people, I could completely see that. There might be some that thought the main event was like, it had like the big epic feel. And I think there was certainly the ability to buy into an Omega win in this match for a lot of reasons.
But top to bottom, again, like, So with the exception being maybe the Gabe Cade injury, I'm sure affecting, what that match was supposed to end with. I'm sure like that was probably going to be a much better match than it was. I felt like top to bottom, this was another really high quality AEW show,
Where do you see, if they do Max and Darby Wednesday, what do you see as the direction for Double or Nothing in the title picture?
Yeah. So again, I feel like Andrade is in the mix. Who else is in the mix? Swerve, we don't exactly know. Like, I feel like he's being deliberately kept away for a reason. They are in Washington, right? So
This week, they are.
yeah, he could come back this week.
Yeah. Yep.
Having lost the challenge, lost his number one contendership to MJF, maybe like that feels big enough for a Double or Nothing title challenge.
Swerve could be a possibility. Yeah, that's definitely something. I personally thought like Darby was big enough for Double or Nothing.
I did too. I did too.
Like they could do something on Wednesday that leads to a match, like a rematch. You could do something like that. But I just thought this was an excellent pay-per-view overall. Like very few things I think you can be negative on overall.
So Shelton says, I think Darby wins the belt. Do you think that's a possibility?
On Wednesday?
Title change on television.
I mean, that would give you a great reason to do a rematch at Double or Nothing. Certainly.
I would love that shock booking. I really would.
Sometimes you do stuff to just surprise, and I wouldn't completely dismiss it.
I would be open to it. Yeah, provided they have good follow through. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we will see what happens on Wednesday. Very possible. It is WrestleMania month at postwrestling.com. Wei Ting and John Pollock go live all WrestleMania week beginning Monday, April the 13th. Sign up for the Post Wrestling Cafe and you will get live shows all week long leading into our coverage that weekend of WrestleMania 42. This month, we're also bringing you reviews of Spring Break 2 from New Orleans in 2018 and a special Patrons Pick edition of Rewind Away. Sign up now at postwrestlingcafe.com, and this month, new subscribers get 50% off for the first month. Head on over to postwrestlingcafe.com.